The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as Ambassador Krixar of the Zalathi Empire stood before the assembled representatives. His forearms gestured dramatically, purple skin flushing darker with each word. "The humans have gone too far this time." Krixar's voice echoed through the crystalline dome. "They refuse to share their FTL technology, they ignore our trade regulations, and now they dare to colonize planets in the disputed sectors." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. The Zalathi Empire controlled a third of known space, and their military might was legendary. No species had ever challenged their authority and survived. "I propose we teach these primitive mammals a lesson," Krixar continued, his mandibles clicking with satisfaction. "A quick military strike on their outer colonies. Show them their place in the galactic hierarchy." The human ambassador, Sarah Chen, sat quietly in her designated spot. She was small compared to most species present, her single pair of arms folded calmly in her lap. When she spoke, her voice was soft but carried clearly. "The United Earth government strongly advises against any military action. We seek only peaceful coexistence." Krixar laughed, a harsh sound like grinding metal. "Peaceful? You violate 17 different council regulations. Your species has been in space for barely 50 cycles. Yet you act as if you own it." "We simply wish to expand and explore," Chen replied. "Our colonies threaten no one." "Your expansion threatens everyone," roared Ambassador Threk of the Gorvani hegemony, his crystalline form pulsing with anger. "You breed like insects, spreading across the galaxy without regard for established borders." More voices joined the chorus of complaints. The Etherian collective accused humans of disrupting psychic communication channels. The Mechanoid Alliance claimed human technology was dangerously unpredictable. Every grievance, real or imagined, was aired in the chamber. Chen remained silent through it all, occasionally typing notes on her datapad. Her calmness only seemed to infuriate the other ambassadors more. "You see?" Krixar gestured at her. "They don't even respect us enough to defend themselves. They sit there like prey animals, accepting their fate." "We are defending ourselves," Chen said quietly. "With words. With diplomacy. Violence should always be the last resort." "Then you are weak," Krixar slammed his primary fist on the podium. "And the weak have no place among the stars. I call for a formal vote. Military intervention against the human colonies." The voting began immediately. One by one, the member species cast their votes. The Zalathi Empire, the Gorvani hegemony, the Etherian collective, even the typically neutral void dancers, all voted in favor of military action. Only 3 species abstained: the ancient preservers, who never involved themselves in conflicts, the enigmatic shadow weavers, who gave no reason, and the synthetic archivists, who simply stated they needed more data. When the final tally appeared on the central display, Krixar's mandibles spread in what passed for a smile among his kind. 47 votes in favor, 3 abstentions. "The motion passes." Chen slowly stood up, her small frame dwarfed by the massive chamber. She looked around at the assembled ambassadors, her expression unreadable. "I need to make one thing very clear," she said, her voice carrying a weight that made several ambassadors shift uncomfortably. "What you've just done is declare war not on our colonies, not on our government, but on our entire species. Every human, everywhere." "Good," Krixar laughed. "Let them all know the price of defying the Galactic Council." Chen nodded slowly. "Very well. The United Earth government will be notified of your decision. May I ask one question before I leave?" "I'm on S. I'm on S." "Very well. I'm on S. Speak, human. Why do you think we've expanded so quickly? Why do you think we've developed FTL independently? Why do you think we ignore your regulations?" Krixar scoffed. "Because you're arrogant children who don't know your place." "No," Chen said softly. "It's because we've done this before." A cold silence fell over the chamber. Chen continued, her voice barely above a whisper but somehow filling the vast space. "We've had thousands of years of practice. Practice at war. Practice at survival. Practice at doing whatever it takes to ensure our species continues. And now you've just united all of humanity against a common enemy. She gathered her things calmly, as if preparing to leave just another boring meeting. At the door, she turned back one final time. Congratulations. You just declared war on the galaxy's deadliest species. We tried to warn you with words. Now you'll learn through experience. The door closed behind her with a soft hiss, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. Commander Vorthan of the Zalathi Empire's Third Fleet stood on the bridge of his flagship, confidence radiating from every pore. His fleet of 200 warships approached the human colony world of New Geneva, weapons powered and ready. This will be over in minutes, he told his second-in-command. These humans have maybe a dozen patrol ships. Our sensors show no significant military installations. His tactical officer suddenly stiffened. Commander, I'm detecting massive energy signatures appearing throughout the system. Where? I see nothing on visual. Everywhere, sir. They're coming out of subspace. Space itself seemed to tear open in 1,000 places. Ships poured through the rifts, not the sleek, beautiful vessels common to council species, but angular, brutal things that looked like they were designed by someone who thought aesthetics were a weakness. Vorthan's confidence evaporated as his scanners struggled to count the arriving human ships. 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. The numbers kept climbing. Impossible, he breathed. Our intelligence said they had a few hundred ships at most. Commander. His communications officer's voice shook. We're receiving a transmission. The view screen filled with the image of a human admiral. Unlike Ambassador Chen's calm demeanor, this human's eyes held something that made Vorthan's scales itch. The look of a predator that had just cornered its prey. I am Admiral Rebecca Singh of the United Earth Expeditionary Force, the human said. You have exactly 1 minute to power down your weapons and surrender. This is your only warning. Vorthan's pride flared. You dare threaten the Zalathi Empire? We are the supreme military power in the galaxy. Were, Admiral Singh corrected. Past tense, 50 seconds. All ships. Attack pattern Omega. Vorthan roared. Show these primitives the might of Zeleth. The Zalathi fleet opened fire, their energy beams and plasma torpedoes streaking through space. The human ships didn't even try to dodge. The attacks hit their hulls, and simply disappeared. What? Vorthan stared at the tactical display. Our weapons did nothing. 30 seconds, Admiral Singh said calmly. Analyze their shields, Vorthan ordered. Find a weakness. Sir, those aren't shields, his science officer reported, voice trembling. Their hulls are absorbing the energy. They're using our own weapons to power their systems. End quote. 20 seconds. Vorthan felt fear for the first time in his life. All ships. Retreat. Fall back to 10 seconds. The human ships began to glow, a soft blue light that grew brighter with each passing moment. 5 seconds. Please, Vorthan found himself begging. We can discuss terms. 0. The human fleet fired as one. Not energy beams or missiles, but something else. Space itself seemed to scream as reality twisted around the weapons. Vorthan watched in horror as his ships didn't explode. They simply ceased to exist, erased from reality as if they had never been. In 12 seconds, the entire Third Fleet was gone. Only Vorthan's flagship remained, surrounded by 50,000 human vessels. Why? Vorthan whispered. Why spare us? Admiral Singh's expression never changed. Someone needs to report back. Tell your council what happened here. Tell them this was one fleet. We have hundreds more. Tell them we've been hiding our true strength because we didn't want to frighten the other species. The transmission cut to show images. Human shipyards stretching across entire solar systems. Armies that numbered in the billions. Weapons that could crack planets like eggs. We tried to play nice, Singh continued. We followed your rules as much as we could. We limited our expansion. Held back our technology. Pretended to be just another young species finding its way. But you had to push. You had to declare war. It was a mistake, Vorthan gasped. Please, I'll tell them it was a mistake. Yes, you will. You'll also tell them about our history. How we spent thousands of years perfecting the art of killing each other. How we united only when we realized there might be threats among the stars. How every human child learns military tactics, alongside mathematics. How our entertainment is filled with stories of war and conquest. How we turned our homeworld into a fortress, and every colony into a weapon. The Admiral leaned forward. But most importantly, tell them this. We don't want to fight. We want peace. We want to explore and learn and grow alongside other species. But if forced to choose between peace and survival, we will always choose survival. And we are very, very good at surviving. Vorthan's ship suddenly lurched as a hyperspace window opened beneath it. This will take you directly to the council chambers, Singh said. You have 1 hour to convince them to rescind their declaration of war. If they refuse, if they send even one more ship against us, well, let's just say the galaxy will have a lot more empty space in it. As his ship was pulled into hyperspace, Vorthan's last sight was of the human fleet. They weren't celebrating their victory. They were simply waiting, patient as death itself, for the galaxy's decision. The journey that should have taken days passed in minutes. Vorthan burst into the council chambers, his scales pale with terror, his tale spilling out in a rush of words that left the assembled ambassadors in stunned silence. Lies! Krixar finally roared. The humans cannot possibly possess such power. Vorthan activated his personal recorder, showing the destruction of the Third Fleet. The chamber fell silent as 200 warships vanished in seconds. They're not lying about their history either. The archivist ambassador suddenly spoke, their synthetic voice cutting through the shock. I've been analyzing their data networks. Their history is disturbing. They've had over 30,000 recorded conflicts on their homeworld alone. They've created weapons that could end their own species multiple times over. They've survived plagues, nuclear war, ecological collapse, and emerged stronger each time. Why didn't you tell us this before? Someone demanded. You didn't ask. You were too busy being offended by their success to wonder how they achieved it. Ambassador Krixar stood frozen as the weight of their mistake crashed down upon the Galactic Council. The recording played again, showing the Third Fleet's destruction in horrifying detail. Ships that had taken decades to build, crews that represented the finest of Zelathi military tradition, gone in seconds. We must surrender immediately, Ambassador Threk said, his crystalline form flickering with fear. Before they destroy us all. Wait. The ancient preserver ambassador spoke for the first time in 50 cycles. Their voice was like wind through time itself. There is something you all fail to understand about these humans. Every eye turned to the being that had observed the galaxy since before most of their species achieved sentience. They could have destroyed you all the moment you voted, the preserver continued. Their ambassador knew what would happen. She could have called their fleets then. Instead, she warned you. Even now, after you attacked them, they send messengers instead of missiles. Why? Krixar's mandibles clicked nervously. Because they want us to surrender? No. Because despite their capacity for destruction, they choose creation. Despite their ability to conquer, they choose cooperation. This is what makes them truly dangerous. Not their weapons, but their restraint. The Shadow Weaver ambassador materialized fully for the first time in Council history. We have been watching them since they achieved spaceflight. Do you know what they did first? Not build warships, not claim territory. They sent messages. Music, art, mathematics, an invitation to communicate. But their history, someone protested. Yes, their history is violent, the Shadow Weaver agreed. They learned war fighting themselves. But do you know what else they learned? They learned that war's only purpose is to create peace. They learned that strength's only value is in protecting the weak. They learned that the greatest victory is the battle you don't have to fight. A new transmission came through. Admiral Singh appeared again. But this time she wasn't alone. Behind her stood hundreds of humans, Soldiers. Yes. But also scientists, artists, teachers, children, members of the Galactic Council, Singh began. I'm transmitting from Earth, our homeworld. I want to show you something. The view shifted to a memorial. Millions of names were etched into black stone that seemed to stretch forever. This is our memorial of wars, Singh explained. Every human who ever died in conflict is remembered here. Billions of names. Billions of lives lost to violence. We build monuments not to victory, but to cost. We remember not glory, but grief. The image changed to show human cities, human art, human families. We've spent our entire history learning a simple truth: that every sapient life has value. That diversity makes us stronger. That peace, however difficult, is always preferable to war. But we also learned that sometimes, to protect what you love, you must be willing to fight. And if you must fight, you fight to win. Quickly and decisively. To minimize suffering. What do you want from us? Krixar asked, his voice small. What we've always wanted. Partnership. Trade. Cultural exchange. The chance to learn from each other. The opportunity to explore the galaxy together, as friends rather than enemies. But we declared war on you, and we're offering you peace. The choice is yours. The council erupted in discussion. Some argued for immediate surrender. Others questioned whether the humans could be trusted. But gradually, a consensus emerged. We rescind our declaration of war, Krixar said, each word seeming to physically pain him. And we apologize for our aggression. Singh smiled. The first truly warm expression any of them had seen from a human. Apology accepted. Now, let's talk about the future. Over the following days, the truth about humanity spread throughout the galaxy. They weren't conquerors or destroyers. They were survivors who had learned that the best way to survive was to help others do the same. The human fleet didn't disappear, but it dispersed. Ships that could have brought death instead brought aid to struggling colonies. Soldiers trained for war instead built schools and hospitals. The same technology that absorbed energy weapons was adapted to clean polluted worlds. Ambassador Chen returned to the council chambers, now filled with a very different energy. You asked why we expanded so quickly, she said to the assembled species. It wasn't for conquest. It was because we were looking for others like us. Others who had learned that the universe is vast and dangerous, but less so when we face it together. Your ships, Krixar said hesitantly. How many do you really have? Chen smiled. Enough to defend every world in the galaxy, if needed. But we'd rather use them to explore beyond it. There's so much we haven't seen. So much we haven't learned. Why waste time fighting each other when we could be discovering what lies beyond the next star? The archivist spoke up. Our analysis of human culture reveals something interesting. They have a concept called paying it forward. Helping others because someone once helped you. Their entire species seems built on this principle. Someone helped you? Threk asked. Who? You're one of the younger species. Each other, Chen replied. Every human civilization that fell taught the next one how to avoid their mistakes. Every war taught us the value of peace. Every death taught us the value of life. We helped ourselves, generation after generation, each paying forward hard-won wisdom to the next. And now? The preserver asked, though their tone suggested they already knew the answer. Now we'd like to pay it forward to the galaxy. We have technologies that could help. Medical advances from studying our own fragile biology. Agricultural techniques from feeding billions on a single world. Energy systems from trying not to destroy our planet. All available to share, if you're willing to share in return. The vote this time was unanimous, not for war, but for the first true galactic alliance. Species that had maintained cold distances for millennia began to talk, to trade, to learn from each other. The humans, it turned out, were excellent mediators, having had plenty of practice settling their own disputes. Years later, Krixar found himself on a human colony ship headed for a distant galaxy. His companion was the same Admiral Singh, who had once threatened his destruction. "Do you ever regret showing us your true strength?" he asked. "You could have ruled the galaxy." Singh laughed, a warm sound so different from Zealothy laughter. "Rule it? What would be the point? We'd just be alone again, surrounded by fear instead of friends. No, the real strength was in knowing when not to use our power." "That memorial," Krixar said quietly. "All those names. How do you bear it?" "By making sure we never have to add more. Every species we meet peacefully, every conflict we resolve without violence, honors their memory better than any monument." As the ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying representatives of a dozen species toward new discoveries, Krixar reflected on the galaxy's greatest irony. The deadliest species in known space had become its greatest force for peace, not through conquest, but through choice. The humans had won the war by refusing to truly fight it. And in doing so, they had given the galaxy something more valuable than victory. They had given it hope. Back on Earth, children of 100 different species played together in the shadows of the memorial, their laughter a testament to the future their parents had chosen to build together. The names on the wall stood silent witness, their sacrifice finally meaning something more than just survival. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as guardians, not as rulers, but as teachers. Not as the galaxy's deadliest species, but as its most determined protectors. And the galaxy, having learned its lesson, was grateful.